Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of Podup with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm going to go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the program. It's Podup with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. We got JC, and then we'll have Kyle Crooks to take over the second portion of today's program. And I think he's got Francesca Enea on today.
Franny.
Maybe that's next week, but Franny could hit some bombs now. Good morning, JC. You're on the Titan More Hotline.
Yeah. Nobody can forget how Francesca would hit the ball in and over the pine trees in left field. I think I've seen the furthest balls of my life hit from her on that team. So we loved watching those girls back in those days. And, they got a great team this year, too. So this should be a lot of fun to watch as we go through the spring. So, QB, this is a big time. We've got a huge golf tournament coming. And, I've got my little player's hat on right here, so you've got little Gator over there. So I'm ready to go, and I'm going to show up.
They obviously don't make a player's hat with the Alabama A on it, do they?
Well, they don't play it in Birmingham. They play it in Jacksonville. But hey, listen, I think we've got an incredible field. What is really kind of ridiculous, though, is that the defending champion will not be there. Well, the other grouping that's interesting has Justin Thomas. I guess he won in 2019. And Max Homa and Jordan Spieth playing. And then you've got Kitayama, the winner from last week, at Bay Hill playing with Zalatoris and Xander Schauffele. So Xander has missed the last three cuts. So you hope that he might put it together this year. Actually, McIlroy won it in 2019. Thomas won it, I think, right after him. So in 2020. And then we had Cam Smith win it 2021. And then Cam Smith won it last year. So.
Yeah, it should be a really fun tournament. You and I will do our Peachland Dental picks here momentarily. Before that, JC, March Madness is in full effect. ACC tournament started yesterday. A lot of teams have punched their ticket. Have you watched any basketball?
No, but mercifully, Florida State season is over. And there's another team that I noticed locally that is their season is done. And these are just bad seasons for these schools. And they won't even be playing in the NIT. So bad year for Leonard Hamilton and his boys, and it's somewhat surprising if you ask me, because they shouldn't be that bad. But the other team that's season ended that I noticed last night, if I can just pull the damn thing up, is Louisville had probably historically one of the worst seasons in its school history this year. Their season is mercifully over. And Notre Dame also with Mike Bray, he's finished now. His career there is over. He's a good coach at Notre Dame, made him competitive, but they lost by 3 to Virginia Tech, so we don't have to ever watch them for the remainder of the season now. And then Gonzaga served notice last night in their tournament with St. Mary's, the team that gave them the most competition in that very weak league. By beating St. Mary's by 26 points, 77-51. So Gonzaga is a ninth-ranked team in the country that I think you better keep your eye on with Drew Timme. They have experience in this tournament. Their problem is they play in an awful conference. But hopefully for them, anyway, I think they could easily be a Sweet 16 team. So.
Yeah, I mean, year in, year out, they're going to be solid. I think St. Mary's has a chance to go a long ways as well. They're a pretty good team. They got blasted last night, but they are. They are.
Yeah, they beat Gonzaga once this year. So
yeah, for sure. Let me get to a couple of these texts on the Titan MR text line. Chris from Cottondale said, this is referring to when Buddy was on. I don't know whether his show or what. He says, Buddy said AR learned to lead late in the season. What did he lead us to? What does Buddy back this up with? He never led us to anything but a 6-6 season. Those are facts.
Buddy was all over AR yesterday. I missed it.
Well, he may have been. I didn't do the show yesterday. Seth did it all, but I know Buddy was on there. But I was on Buddy's show Monday night, and of course,
Okay.
the talk we talked about it on Monday was how AR did at the combine, and it didn't. I don't think it surprised anybody that followed his career what he did there. I think it's a big national story because people were blown away with all the records and things like that. But again, like I said, hope he does well. We'll see. He is talented, but none of that stuff at the combine has anything to do with playing between the white lines on Sunday afternoons.
You think it would be better for AR to be drafted by a team like maybe Atlanta that wants him to play now, or a team that would have him sit for a year behind somebody that eventually moves on? What would be better for AR?
I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't know.
I mean, Mahomes sat for a year. He sat there and watched Alex Smith play.
But
we've got Kyle Trask, who's watched Tom Brady for the last 2 years. He's going to compete in Tampa. So
but again, you just talked about two guys that are accurate throwers that process information very, very quickly. So I don't even know how to answer that. Matt from Mariana says, hate John Elway, Peyton Manning, and the Broncos. I haven't watched more than 5 NFL games since 2011. Tebow should have got another chance in Denver. Not sure what that's about, but thanks for the text, Matt. Last night, the Gators have a shootout against the Owls. They won 18-11. They had to come from behind, but that's what happens in these midweek games. It's home run derby, or they're going to score a bunch of runs because neither team's going to throw their better pitchers. I think they play FAU again tonight. But anyway, it's a good baseball team.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are concerned about the bullpen. I get it.
Yeah,
it's
outscore
early.
Everybody.
It's
outscore
early.
Everybody. The slogan should be 2 words: outscore everybody. And
that would be 3 words.
That's outscore everybody. Oh, everybody.
Outscore would be 2 words.
Oh, outscore. Okay, 3 words.
Yeah.
The English major here.
Hey, my mom was an English teacher. I don't speak great English, but grammatically, I am outstanding.
Yes. Did you do well on your English 101 papers that you had to turn in?
No, that's when JC, I said grammatically I'm very good. Not thinking of outside the box writing papers and things like that. No, I was horrible. I'm a numbers guy.
Yes,
but I can tell you exactly where apostrophes and here. Speaking of that, nothing drives me crazier than when people say this. He went to the store with JC and I. That's wrong.
It's wrong. Me. I know.
Yes, JC. And people use it all the time, and it drives me insane because they act like they're speaking correctly, but they aren't. And that's the kind of the things that I know that are correct because my mom used to correct me nonstop. And so,
well, what gets to me is go get your helmet. YOUR.
Well, yeah, that's just people that don't know how to spell or know how to use it correctly. They don't know how to use it correctly.
No, wait, that's a terrible example.
You think
you're going to go coach Orlando Saturday. You are. That's what I'm saying. It's
no, the way people use the word "I" drives me insane because they use it wrong all the time. I'll tell you a funny story that I want to say. I'm not going to use his name, but he's a reporter, been doing it for 40-something years.
Yeah.
I guess it was during last football season. He sent me an article.
Okay.
And like under the caption under the picture of the article, it had so and so and I, or however, I can't remember exactly, but I was like, I texted him back, I go, dude, I don't do what you do for a living, but that is wrong. And he texts me back and he goes, you're absolutely correct. You're wrong, that I'm wrong. He goes, how did you know that? I said, well, my mom's an English teacher. So now that everybody's enenared with that.
Well, I mean, now that we've had our Rosetta Stone segment here, on English language, possessive, dude. You got to use those apostrophes, right?
Yeah, but the way people use the word "I" drives me crazy.
Okay, you're up on that one, and then there. It's like they're over there, or that is their huddle. I mean, okay. Never mind.
All right. So having said all that, the SEC tournament cranks up today. Gators play tomorrow. They have the early game, I believe, against Mississippi State. Mississippi State is still on the bubble. I saw a thing last night before I went to bed. I can't remember if Joe Lenardi had them as the last four in or the last four out, but they're in the hunt, and it's crazy because they had a worse record than we did in conference play, but they had a couple of non-conference big wins. So,
right. That's right.
What are you looking for in these basketball tournaments, JC?
Well, in the basketball tournament, I think teams like Auburn really need to use it to improve their possibilities on seeding. You don't want to go in there as 11 seed or even worse, maybe a 8 or 9 seed. You want to go in there as a 6 or something. Teams like Auburn can improve their positioning because I do think Auburn's going to make it. The team that I feel bad for, even though I'm not a big fan of their university, is Tennessee because they lose their best guard. And in this tournament, QB, if you don't have good guard play, you lose. And so that's something that I will pay attention to. But as far as the SEC tournament is concerned, Alabama, I think, got the better side of that bracket, as they should, as the top seed. But on the bottom half of that, you've got Tennessee, you've got Kentucky, you've got Texas A&M all playing on that side of the bracket. And I'll be interested to see how Texas A&M plays. Last year, they were the Cinderella story of the SEC tournament. In Texas A&M this year, there is no Cinderella story. They're going to be a top 4 seed in all likelihood in the NCAA tournament. So I think Texas A&M is a team to keep an eye on as the number 2 seed in the SEC tournament, and a team that can really be dangerous in the big dance because I like the way that coach prepares his team to play tournament basketball. He did it last year. They should have gone to the NCAA tournament. They played the final game. They played 4 days in a row and should have gone to the NCAA tournament last year. They will be this year. Keep your eye on the Aggies.
Yeah, Buzz Williams is a tremendous coach. He's done well everywhere he's been. So I believe, if I'm correct, your prediction of your national champs has to win the ACC tournament to get in.
Yeah, North Carolina is disappointing. I mean, that league as a whole, QB, I'm still not really sure. I mean, maybe
do you know who? Look again. This is bad TV or podcasting. But I believe. Do you know who won the ACC in basketball this year?
That's what I'm saying. I haven't.
I am almost sure it was a split, a co-champ between the Miami Hurricanes and the Pitt Panthers.
Pitt Panthers, yeah. And I know both of those teams have had good years, but that's the thing. The ACC has been kind of a little wacky, and I'm not really up on that league. But what I don't want to see, QB, is the Big Ten with a bunch of teams with double-digit losses like Michigan get 9 teams in, when you've got other teams in other conferences that I think are more deserving. I think the Big Ten is it's just, for some reason, it carries some sort of weight with the committee where they get 7 to 9 teams every year, and then typically they all lose in the first 2 rounds. QB, their record in the NCAA tournament is miserable for the most part here recently. So to me, the Big 12 conference is very interesting. Obviously, all of the good teams in that league. I think Texas is dangerous, a very dangerous team. Obviously, there's Kansas. You never know what Baylor's going to pull out. But the Big Ten, to me, is somewhat overrated, in my opinion.
Yes, it is, for sure. My preseason pick will be in the tournament.
Who was that again?
The Creighton Blue Jays.
Oh, yeah. No, that's got to be in. They've got to be in there.
They're a very good team.
That's a team that can really be dangerous, get to the Sweet 16. To me, these first 2 rounds are exciting for gamblers and people that are trying to see, out of the first 2 games, who's going to make it to the Sweet 16. Sweet 16 is when it really gets going and cranking. But these first 2 days, in 2 weeks or in a week, just over a week from now. And what else this means, QB, is we'll talk about this Friday, I guess. But Sunday is Selection Day. So that's an exciting show. I love watching Selection Sunday. That's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, there's 2 SEC games, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and then LSU and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Awful. They're awful. I mean, they're so bad.
So if you were in Nashville, you wouldn't go watch this back-to-back
I wouldn't
game
go watch. I would not go watch those first 2. I would show up, though, for tomorrow. Tomorrow, 4 games. Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, 2 sessions. You got to go in and out. You go in for the first session. That's 2 games. You have to go out of the building, then come back in for the second session. That's how they sell the tickets. But you're going to see, pretty good games, exciting games on Thursday. And then is that when the favorites play on Friday, or no. So the second round is Thursday, right?
Thursday.
Florida plays tomorrow, and then you get the seeded favorites playing on Friday. So there you go. And some teams think, gosh, if we don't win our conference tournament, it's okay because we want to rest up for the big dance, playing till Sunday. But I don't think it matters.
Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, M. Paris, provide you fast, friendly, reliable service. Give her a call today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with JC on the Titan More hotline. All right, JC, let's Gator football. They've had a couple spring practices. Not a whole lot of news coming out of there right now. I'm going to try to get some more information from some insiders for maybe Friday's program or Monday's program, since I can't go be an insider myself. As we talked about the Players Championship, I know people don't like to talk golf, but they had a tremendous tournament last week at Bay Hill. This is a major tournament, no matter what people say. It is a fifth major for sure. The field is loaded. We're going to do our Peachland Dental picks, the Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. We've done pretty well on our picks so far. I'm going to let you go first, JC, because I always do that. I let the guests go first.
QB, you don't think people like listening about golf on this podcast?
I don't know if they do or not, but it doesn't matter because we're going to talk about it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with a guy who was disappointing on his final round last weekend, but has all the talent in the world, and I think can really break through in this tournament. That's Victor Hovland.
All right, you're taking the Norwegian.
He could just make so many birdies. If the rough is low, if they don't rough it up over there, he could shoot 20 under, dude. He's that kind of talent.
Yes. Well, I'm going to go with one of my favorite players now, and I think he's just playing really well.
Okay.
Max Homa.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you pick him? He's probably the most popular guy on tour right now. I mean, just not with the fans. They love him in the locker room, too. He's very popular. I'm going to go with former champion, Alabama guy. I love this guy. I think he also had a disappointing round on Sunday. That's why I like him this week. And that's Justin Thomas.
All right. JT for JC.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with, I believe he won the U.S. Open last year, the Englishman, Matthew Fitzpatrick.
He did win the U.S. Open last year. In this tournament, you do have to have some foreigner in there. I don't know why, but it just feels like you need to have a foreign player, and he's a good one. 43 of the top 50 players are in this field. That's why the LIV does not compare to this. Okay, I'm done with the LIV arguments. I've had people ask me about it. They go, "Why don't you watch that?" I said, "Why?"
Somebody told me. Somebody didn't tell me this. I saw a tweet because I've yet to watch the LIV on TV. I guess it's on like the CW channel or something.
Yeah.
But this tweet, I forgot who said it. And I want to say it's somebody that watches our program.
Oh.
And I can't remember who it was though. But it was on Twitter. And they said watching the CW, watching the LIV tour on the CW brought back memories of watching. Remember the old Dodge shootout they used to have at Black Diamond on like Sunshine Network?
Yes. I think we remember that.
They said that's what it was like watching.
They're trying. Listen, they can compete, but they do not compete with the PGA as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Now, my third pick, I love John Rahm, one of my favorite players. I'm not taking him this week. He does not, for some reason, he does not finish highly at TPC, but he could this time. I think Fowler's played a lot better. I think Cam Young is dangerous, Sam Burns. But I'm going to go with Scotty Scheffler because, to me, he is the best player in the world at this minute. And even though he's not ranked #1, it's Rahm and McIlroy. I think Scheffler's right behind him. He's only played twice on this course, and I think he's going to want to hang around. And I think he can go low. If the rough is – he's just such a – I hate saying the same names each week, but QB, these are the guys that finish high. So give me Scotty. I think he's unbelievable. One of the 3 best in the world to me.
We're going to take 4 picks, but my third pick's going to be Sungjae Im.
Yeah, another foreign player for you, QB. You threw me for
I got to take a Korean at least. South Korean.
Well, the 2019 winner was Rory McIlroy. He's going to be in the top 10 this year as well. It's too easy to pick him, though. He's so good here. I'm going to go with a foreign player who I think nobody really talks about, but if he just catches a little momentum and if the conditions are right, Sardith Thigala is a fantastic player. He played.
He's not a foreign player though. He's an American.
Well, no, but he's an Indian player. But you're right. He went to school at
Pepperdine.
I think his game really, really fits this course. He is long. He can putt. Give me him. I think, you don't necessarily have to be long at this course, but I just think he can destroy the par fives. I mean, he's going to birdie 16 probably 3 out of 4 days. I'm going to take him.
My last pick's I'm going to take a Canadian. I'm taking Corey Connors.
Yeah, he had a good week last week. He showed up, played well. He's a very good player too. Kind of forgotten player out there, but he could easily
so to recap, JC has Victor Hovland, Justin Thomas, Scotty Scheffler, Sahith Theegala.
Yeah.
I have Max Homa, Matt Fitzpatrick, Sunjay M, and Corey Connors.
Yeah.
So that's our Peachland Dental picks for the
Peachland Dental, baby. They're coming back in Port Charlotte. My man Joe is rolling back down there now. I mean, it's been a tough road back from that hurricane, but God bless.
Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Bass Pro Shop, Regal Cinemas, Advisory Rooftop, and the HBC Spurs Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. JC, before we get out of here, anything you got anything excited? Give us an update on your athleticism going on, like tennis, golf. What's going on?
Well, I've had some foot issues. I've got metatarsosaglia or something. That's kind of like a bruise on your ball of your foot. I heard it playing tennis, but it's coming back. Golf-wise, did fine yesterday out here. Played quite a bit with one of our best friends and this guy named Greg, who is, let's just say he's ripe for the picking. And but he loves to play, and he's got a lot of money. So we love Greg. We love it when Greg shows up. So that was a good day for JC. But thank you for asking. My athletic career is still 2 sports, and I'm going to captain the men's 40 and over USTA 3.0 team at Hawkstone Country Club. I am the team captain, and we need another player. So if anybody out there wants to play USTA and is rated 3.0 or less, which would be 2.5, and is over the age of 40,
is this a mixed doubles team or just a male team?
Yeah, it's a men's doubles. So you have
men's.
Men's doubles, you'd have 3 doubles matches and 1 singles match. We've got 11 players, strong. But
were you voted captain, or you just made yourself captain?
They wanted me to be captain because nobody else wants to do the organizational part of it, which I'm not good at anyway. But text messaging works well. I just think that it's fun to play tennis. It's good exercise, and Westside Park is the favorite in this league. They have stacked their team with a bunch of players from other places like
Sounds
DB,
like the Yankees.
DB and JTC, you mean the Dodgers? DB, JTC, Hawkstone, Westside. We're typically always winning these leagues, but Westside this year has got some of our players because there's a new rule at Hawkstone QB. You have to be a member now to be on a roster for a USTA team. You have to be a member. It protects those of us who pay. I think it's a great rule. If you don't like it, go down 8th Avenue, 25
Well, that's why they're playing elsewhere for free and whipping y'all's butt.
Well, we'll see if they whip our butt. But listen, man, you can't play at my joint unless you paid. That's just the way it goes. Because I'm not.
All right, Jason. Well, go get off IR. Go ice down your foot.
Yes.
Get ready for some just thrilling men's tennis.
One of our best friends who's 6'6", weighs about 275, thinks with one practice he can beat me, and I just laughed him off the course yesterday. But he's going to get a shot. He's going to want to try. He says, with one practice, JC, I will kill you. I said, okay, all right, we'll see how you do 66. So he's going to get a shot. I
can't wait. All right, JC, have a good day. That's JC joining us on the Titan MR hotline at Chris Doring Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Going to take a timeout. When we come back, you'll be joined by Kyle Crooks. You're watching and listening to Podup with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back, Podup. Matthews in the morning, second half of the show here on this Wednesday. We have a very special guest today, and it's not me. I'm Kyle Crooks, by the way. That is three-time All-American, Gator grade. I just could keep going. One of the best right-handed power hitters in Florida softball history, but even more importantly, my broadcast partner on the SEC Network Plus. We'll have a lot of games this week, starting tonight when UCF comes to town. Francesca Enea is her name. She joins me now. Francesca, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for that awesome intro, but you buried the lead. I'm your broadcast partner. That's number one, right?
That's true. Well, yeah, that's what I said. That is number one overall, the fact that you are my broadcast partner. This is year 6 for us. I think the first SEC Plus broadcast that you'd done broadcasting in the past, but I think the first game we had ever done was a South Florida game. It was a midweek game. It was me, you, and Kelsey Horton in the same booth at the same time at the old KSP, now since renovated, but we were all shoved in there like sardines. So we have a lot of fond memories in the broadcast booth.
I always love when people say the old KSP, because to me, it's still, I mean, the location.
$15 million later, Fran.
The location's still the same. It's not like they moved it. Can we say like KSP 2.0?
2.0. I like it. It's not like McKeithen, now Florida Ballpark. You're right in that aspect. But
like,
it is.
Even so much like when I still go down and like step in the, like down on the field and step on like in the batter's box, I'm still like zoned in on like the one place that I always looked at when I'd hit. And it looks the exact same. It's the same backdrop. Yes, the walls changed tremendously, and there's like, I think it's this giant scoreboard that's completely overpowering, which is amazing. But yeah, those are just like really the only things that like as a hitter looks different to me.
So let's get down to it. Just how jealous are you of today's Gator athletes and the fact that they have all of these, the pitching, not that you were a pitcher, but the pitching lab, the clubhouse, the locker room, all these different things?
I may not have been a pitcher, but I was a catcher. And back in the day, as us old people say, there were only 2 bullpens, and it was on the left field or the left side of the field and the right side of the field. And as a catcher, sometimes I'd have to like run back and forth, which was tiresome, especially like in gear. So jealous, you know, if you had asked me that question while I was a current player, I would have been like, I would have had such heartburn about it. I would have been said like, I am extremely jealous. I want that stuff. But now as a mature adult, it makes me really happy to see, honestly. Every player that comes into that program deserves to be there. And the hard work that the coaching staff and Coach Walton has put in since he stepped on campus back in 2005, it sometimes brings tears to my eyes. Like, I walked into that program on campus not knowing that I was going to fall in love with everything Florida and everything orange and blue. So when I see them get new stadium upgrades and when they win national championships, it makes me just so proud to know that I was part of that program at one point.
For those that don't know, Francesca was, and she won't say this because she's humble, but she was the first really big recruit of the Tim Walton era. She's the one who definitely built the foundation, first World Series, first championship series. When you think of the great right-handed power hitters in Florida history, I mean, she's up there in the record books and all of that. I wanted to dive into your story because you said that you were a catcher when you came into Florida. And I talked a little bit, ironically enough, with Coach Walton about this, about another player on the current roster, but how it related to your story, and you transitioned to a corner outfielder. How did that come to be? Obviously, you dealt with injuries too, and certain things kind of took certain things away, but how did it come to be you playing in the outfield?
Yeah, so freshman year, first we're in the fall season, and I'm going to be the catcher. I'm going to be the catcher for the Gators, and I was always a catcher. That's what I was recruited to do. I loved it. And then about a month into season, I tore my ACL, and they said that I had to redshirt, or that I couldn't redshirt because I'd already played too many games. So I took like a month off and rehabbed my knee and just became a designated hitter. And just to be honest, I was brutal. I think I batted like 219, I think like maybe like 6 home runs. It was pretty depressing looking at that stat line. And by the time I had surgery and got cleared to play again, it was already January of my sophomore season, and I wasn't strong enough to go back and catch. But one day Coach Walton in the fall season of my freshman year had like put all of us out in the outfield. And as a young freshman at the first team practice, I told myself, I'm like, don't look like an idiot, catch every ball and hustle so hard, so that he doesn't rethink, bringing you onto the team. And so I did that. And fast forward to my sophomore season, and they were trying to find a spot for me in the field. And Coach Walton remembered that I looked somewhat agile in the outfield. So he didn't really pose it the way that he just posed it to you. He basically said, I'm putting you in left field. Well, actually I saw the lineup, and they had a number 7 next to my name. And I went up to him and I was like, where's number 7? Cause I only know where position number 2 is. And so he said, it's in left field, and your goal is to hit in more runs than you give up.
That's such an interesting story. And the fact that you played part of the year on a torn ACL, you don't see that at all now. So you played how much of that year with a torn ACL your freshman year, and you had a giant knee brace, right? I mean, I don't even think you're allowed to do that nowadays.
So I played about a month and a half. I've missed the first 6 weeks of SEC play. That's basically when it happened. And then fast forward to my junior season, and it's the fall, and I tear the same ACL again. And I actually had been working the previous summer to try to go back and catch because I loved catching so much. But then at that point, ACL's torn, and the doctor was like, you need a red shirt. But that was going to be my best year to win a national championship. I had Stacey Nelson as my pitcher. That was her senior season, my junior season. And I'm a fighter. I want to win. And so Coach Walton and we were on the same page. Like, the doctor was like, you need to redshirt. And him and I looked at each other in the doctor's office, like across the room. And we were like, you're not redshirting. And we were like, what would it take for you, doctor, to say that she can play with it torn? And he made this like huge laundry list of things I had to adhere by. And I did. And one of those things that was Coach Walton got like a Gator bar stool chair to be in the dugout so that I could sit on that chair anytime that I wasn't standing up so that I could rest. Right. Yeah. So in my junior year, I played on it torn, basically from October until the end of the season in May, when we ended at the Women's College World Series and the championship series, where we lost to, who are they? Washington.
Washington, Danielle Laurie in Washington, some of the great battles that you've had and some of the great rivalries that you've been a part of that still remain till this day, whether it's Patrick Murphy at Alabama or, since retired Lou Harris Champer over at Georgia. And we just got off a call with Jerry Glasgow, who was an assistant with Georgia. He's bounced around the SEC and he's going to come to town with Louisiana. But you think it's some of the fond memories of the times that you played, and some of the same rivalries, Francesca, remain the same, right? Florida, Alabama, you think of some of the greats out west, whether it's UCLA, Oklahoma's now, Patty Gasso's created a machine down there in Oklahoma, but some of the great powerhouses have remained the same since you played, and Florida has gone to a handful, multiple World Series since you left Gainesville.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy is, in my opinion, the sport of softball, as far as the talent, continues to blossom every single year. I think the word parity has been overused in our sport, but it's been overused because it's the truth. Back, I would say, like when I played, you'd look at certain conferences and there were always like 4-5 teams that were going to be the strongest. And then maybe towards the bottom, you knew they could possibly be like easy wins for you. But 4 years ago, that's not the case anymore. When you're in these top 5 conferences, every single team in there is a force to be reckoned with. But now when I look at 20 consistently bring each year, even though the players change up constantly, but it is always fun being someone who no longer plays to look at like an Alabama Florida matchup or a UCLA Arizona matchup, and I'm thinking like, oh, I got to get a babysitter for the weekend because I just want to be locked in on these games right now.
Yeah, and the expansion of the game and how it's been televised too has really taken it to the next level. You go back to the World Series when you played and when you were in it to where it is now, and the amount of cameras and the amount of coverage that you have at the World Series. I think there's like 40 plus cameras at the World Series. You have multiple broadcast crews. And, I've done radio here for Florida radio. Your husband did radio for Florida back when you played. So like radio's existed here at Florida, but now you're seeing more radio coverage of different programs around the country. So it is interesting. Parity is overused. Maybe not specifically in the SEC because there's 13 teams that are pretty darn good, maybe with the exception of a few. This Gator team now, Francesca, this will be the first time tonight, I guess, when this airs. UCF comes to town. First time we'll get a chance to do a broadcast this year. Florida has had an up and down start, and on how you look at it, the Gators are, I think, second nationally in runs scored, second in batting average. You put into account some of the opponents they played a couple ranked teams out west, didn't go well against UCLA. The caveat to that, for those that don't know, they traveled the same day because their flight was delayed. So they flew out of Tampa all the way to, I think, Lake City, or not Lake City, I forget, Fullerton. I forget what the name of the city is, but they flew out to California, played on the same day, got run ruled. You come back and got no hit. Come back the next day, you get one hit against Oregon. So it's kind of a wake-up call for this team. Hard to figure out, Francesca. I guess that's this Florida team right now, however many games into the year.
Yeah. Well, so Kyle, you've known me for a long time. And if any of the listeners are out there listening to me for a long time, I'm pretty tough. I'm like a no excuse kind of a girl. And I'm going to say that having to travel across the country and play on a different time zone in a different weather and different environment is extremely strenuous. And then you add in the fact that they were supposed to fly to California the day before. So they were already at the airport waiting around, becoming dehydrated. Then they found out the flight was canceled. Then they have to pivot. And as a player, you're just kind of sitting there like asking, like, what's going on? What are we doing? Why the coaches are trying to like figure it all out. There's a lot of waiting there, a lot of downtime. And then you add in flying the same day. I think like they finally got on a plane like 1 a.m. PST time. And by the time that they went and played against UCLA, they had like an hour to change, and then playing like at almost like at 3 a.m. Like That's really strenuous. Okay. It's extremely hard. No matter how hard you prepare in the fall season, it's not like they ever, like in 6 a.m. they ever tell you to stay up for 24 hours and then show up and we're going to kick your butt into conditioning. Like that's not necessarily what they're prepping you for. So I'm not trying to make any excuses, but that's a pretty tall task to ask any person to do. And to me, when I look at this Florida Gator lineup offensively and defensively, I see a ton of talent. I see a lot of talent that last year they were like newcomer, a little bit more like rookies. Someone like Sam Rowe and like Avery Gills, like had great seasons, but what I'm seeing right now is them blossom into their own and contributing. And so I'm seeing a lot more players like 1 through 9 contribute, but what was missing in Florida is that difference maker, or excuse me, in California is that difference maker. And that was Skylar Wallace. You know, she couldn't travel because she was sick, and that can be really hard when you're missing the heartbeat of your team and your energy is already a little bit low because of the travel issues. I don't know if that's truly a weekend that you can judge Florida on. If anything, I think that it was good for Florida because they were challenged and they had, I don't want to say a wake up call, but the entire country saw them get no hit and run rolled by UCLA. And the Florida softball team they got too much confidence in themselves to want to allow that type of vibe to be out there. So if anything, it's more beneficial that happened. And let's hoping that they learn from, I don't want to say learn, but like have that little chip on their shoulder and start to show up a little bit more.
I talked to Coach Walton today, and he said the biggest thing that I want to know about my team and why that trip was so important is because how do we handle adversity? Now, he said that UCLA game, almost you could throw it away, although that's not his way of thinking. He's not going to just do that. You're not going to but after that, he didn't like the energy in the Oregon game, the Cal State Fullerton game. He said the one game is one thing, but the fact that we lacked energy the next day and the next day, that's the issue. So the biggest thing that he wants to see out of this team right now, just despite all of the tangible things when it comes to hitting and pitching, what have you, is how do we battle adversity when it's a cold, rainy morning and you have to get up and you have to play on the road in the SEC or something on a Sunday? How do we – and I think this week is really big, Francesca. UCF's a dang good team. They've run into a buzzsaw of a schedule that they played in Clearwater. I was just doing some of my notes now, but they've played, I think, 12 games within 2 runs or less in the final margin. They've been walked off 5 times. I think already this year they have 1 walk-off win. So they played a ton of close games against really close competition. Louisiana, you mentioned, is a really good mid-major program. I think this week, before Missouri comes to town next weekend, is going to be a really good litmus test for where this team is really at against some really good mid-major competition.
I agree with you. I mean, and then if you can look at last weekend with Florida going against UAB at their home field, obviously if you're a Florida fan, you're happy with what those scores look like. That's how Florida should be beating like a program like that. And then to your point, UCF, that's going to be a hard matchup. UCF has always had a chip on their shoulder against Florida, but they've backed it up the last few years. You can use pretty much every cliche book or cliche line there is in the book, like throw the stat book out the window because it's going to come down to who wants it more, that grit, kind of what Coach Walton was talking about, like not loving the energy after day 2 or after day 1 at the Mary Netter. This is something that I feel like Florida has lacked on in previous years against UCF. Midweek games are hard. Sometimes you look to them as like a breath, but you cannot do that against a team like UCF. Like you have to show up, and that's going to be a true testament to what Coach Walton is talking about. How is Florida going to show up against a UCF program? Are they still going to not count them in? They shouldn't, because UCF has had the better of Florida, I feel like, in the last few years. And then when you look at a program like Louisiana, one of the first times I would say that Coach Walton at Florida faced Louisiana was in 2008 at the Women's College World Series. I was on that team. We were the #1 seed going up against the #8 seed, thinking that we were going to have an easy win, and they upset us. So a program that loves coming in as the underdog and loves upsetting any top Power 5 conference team.
Yeah, Coach Walton said any team that plays the Gators is going to want to beat them up. And UCF has played Florida really well. UCF actually played UCLA to a 1-run game. That was one of their walk-off losses. Was out west. They're coming on. They're on a 4-game losing streak. They played out in the Judy Garman Classic. So that's what's on tap this week for the Gators. Specifically, I think the biggest issue right now for those that haven't followed softball to this point and will once conference play starts and once the hardest part is because a lot of these games aren't televised early in the year, so it's hard to get a viewing rhythm if you're a casual fan or even a diehard fan. So you're stuck with us a lot on the radio side, but we'll have all these games this week on SEC Network Plus. The biggest issue right now, Francesca, is pitching, no doubt about it. Hopefully Hightower can maybe return to that form that we've seen where she's an all SEC caliber type of pitcher. They've tried the Chronister 5 shift that we've always talked about with Riley Trilachek, where they've put 5 infielders, left right field vacant, and kind of used her as somewhat of a pitcher that can obviously get a lot of ground balls, but can induce a lot of ground balls into that shift. I think they've backed off of that a little bit because location is key for that. And Katie Chronister was so good at locating her pitches to make sure that balls weren't hit to opposite field where there is no defender. And then Lexi Delbray comes back. That is the biggest wild card, I think, right now. If Lexi Delbray is good, this team will be fine pitching-wise. If not, do you think they have enough in the tank to make another World Series run?
These are all great questions, Kyle. Well, I actually got to talk with Coach Bosch, the pitching coach, right before season started. And when talking with him and asking, how do we get Hightower back to All-American status that she was 2 years ago? And there was nothing mechanical, there was nothing mental, there was nothing different types of preparation. It all comes down to how healthy that they can keep Elizabeth. It sounded like she was facing some injuries a lot last year. And if anyone knows Hightower, she's a workhorse. She always wants the ball and she's going to give her best. Even if she gives up, let's say like 3 home runs in an inning, she's still going to be out there fighting for her team. So I'm going to say last year, she wasn't her strongest, healthiest. And you saw the effects of that. And the fact that Bosch kind of posed that as her this year makes me think that maybe she has some other injuries or maybe still fighting through some of her mechanics and ensuring that every time she's thrown in a bullpen, she is using her body in a healthy way that does not get her to be like having a sore shoulder, or even something with her elbow or with her leg. So I know that's been a big focus on that. So what kind of year, if we're going to have a Hightower have a great year, we're going to need her to be healthy. And you said it, if the pitching staff is going to take this team to the Women's College World Series, they're going to need Lexi Delbray. No question about it. She's a difference maker in that bullpen. You always need anyone on your staff to be able to mix up speeds and be able to float an off speed in there. And that's what Delbray provides. You have Hightower with 3 different speeds, but they're still coming in a velo that can be hit. If a batter is able to get on time with just one of those pitches, they can still try to hit it out here. Trilachek, she's going to be low and down, to your point. She's going to be producing those ground balls, but you have to be have that command and have that power in the zone, and can't have anything leak out over the middle of the plate. We've seen her do that too much this season so far. So it's Delbray really has to come in with that off speed to try to get those swings and misses. And, if they don't have Delbray, I still think that you put your money on someone like Coach Walton, who is a battle-tested coach that can figure out how to juggle any lineup and any scenario that there is. But it's going to be hard to do so without someone like Delbray.
Yeah, I told Coach Walton, I said, well, you always find a way, and he always seems to find a way. You look at 2019, Francesca, that team hit like 219 in the conference, and they still found a way to get to a super regional, thanks to Kelly Barnhill, who was dominant. I don't necessarily know if they have that arm. Delbray also is somebody who's coming back from an injury, hadn't thrown a whole lot until I'd say the first week of the season. She had thrown 30 or 40 pitches. So we're talking about months off. And I'm not sure if Lexi is at the point where she can even pitch back-to-back days or anything along those lines quite yet. So it's going to be a little bit of a process to get her back and ready to go. I have to go through some of these advertisements, Francesca, because we're very popular here at in the morning.
Well,
and we know we're popular because we have you on the show. Run some of these advertisers. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. Join us on Friday for Peachland Dentistry's JC and the QB weekend picks. Also, Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat and schedule your air conditioners tune up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Call us at 352-376-2366. Also, QC Kinetics. If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and back, which is me, that won't go away. You need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief, not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics with locations in Ocala and now open in Gainesville. Call 352-400-4550. And finally, Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ugrainsurance.com or call us at 352-240-1779. Well, Francesca, our first SEC Network call is coming up here tonight. Obviously, this airs on Wednesday morning. So Florida, UCF, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to get back in the booth. Year 6. Are you excited? As excited as me?
You know I'm excited. I mean, come on, it's Gator softball. I'm just going to need you to bring the energy. The game.
I don't know about that.
We'll figure it out. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to need you to rebound after our podcast and figure out how you can bring that energy, very similar to how Coach Wallen's asking this from the team. So show up.
Energy is key. The 3-time All-American, Tim Walton, said that you should have been a 4-time All-American if it wasn't for those pesky ACLs or ACL, which you tore twice, and you still played on it. You still found a way. 3-time All-American, one of the best right-handed power hitters in Gator softball history, a iconic swing that'll be remembered for generations with some of the longest home runs ever hit. Francesca Enea, thank you so much for the time and chatting some softball with me.
I appreciate it, Kyle. Thank you. Go Gators.
All right. We'll talk to you again tomorrow with Podup Matthews in the morning.